the left has taken this to so many catastrophic places. I mean, that you would really think that it's been outlawed in all 50 states under all circumstances. That's not the case. But as I said in the intro, you are unapologetically pro-life and have had a provision in South Dakota saying, as soon as they overturn Roe and Casey in your state, abortion will be banned in all cases except when necessary to save the life of the mother. So what say you to those who are now criticizing that as too narrow? What about rape and incest, and too cold to the plight of, let's say, a young girl who finds herself the victim of incest and sadly pregnant thereafter?
Well, the trigger law in South Dakota was passed back in 2005. So it was quite a number of years ago. And what it said was that if Roe was ever overturned at the federal level, that in the state of South Dakota, all abortions would be illegal except to save the life of the mother. And so when that decision came down, that was immediately the law of the land in our state. And, I think that what is important about that law is that it definitely does not prosecute mothers or women or punish them. It goes after doctors who knowingly break the law. So I'm sure there'll be continued debate over this. Rape and incest is something that a lot of people are talking about. And I can't even imagine, the tragic situation so many women go through in those situations is just horrific. For me personally, I know the science of what happens at conception, and technology has shown us so much more the last 10 or 15 years of what happens to babies in the womb and these tragedies. I just believe the best option isn't to follow it up with another tragedy. And so, I launched a website that talked about life. It was life.sd.gov that shows women and families that are in a crisis or in an unplanned pregnancy all the resources that are available to come alongside them in that situation, financially, medical help, even connecting them with adoptive families, should they choose that route with their babies. But knowing that they're not alone is incredibly powerful when they get into a very, very difficult situation like that. And I think a lot of mental health counseling and those individuals who walk alongside them and support them in those situations is incredibly important as well.
But realistically, how many women in South Carolina will be affected by this? Because my impression is amongst South Dakota, my impression is that in most of the states where we're going to see these bans kick in, there was like one abortion clinic anyway. Abortion wasn't very popular and it wasn't all that readily available. And there was already a political will to eliminate it, which is why the numbers were so low. So, I mean, I'm not sure I'm buying the left's narrative that just, millions of women now won't be able to get abortions where they could have before this decision. What's it like in your state?
Yeah, so we had one Planned Parenthood facility in the state of South Dakota that was performing abortions, and it was very few. I mean, I think it was less than 12 or a year. I mean, and they even brought a doctor in from out of state to perform those abortions. One is too many in my book, but they actually stopped doing abortions about 6 weeks ago, I think, in the state of South Dakota. And in anticipation of this decision, which we celebrated, we're glad that our state stands for life. I think it's going to be incredibly important, though, even in states like South Dakota, where policymakers and legislators and the governor are pro-life, that we continue to talk to the people, because we've had ballot initiatives before in our state to ban abortion, and they have not passed. And I think a lot of times the fear tactics and the scare tactics that the left uses, they're effective. I mean, we've watched the last several years. The left and the media use fear to control people. And much of what I'm hearing these extremists on the pro-abortion side just isn't the truth. It isn't the truth that women lost health care. What it did is the Supreme Court decision put this power back to the states where it should be. It fixed a wrong that happened almost 50 years ago. And now those decisions will be made closer to the people. That's the debate that we want to continue to have in South Dakota. And I think every state should start evaluating.
Well, what's upsetting about the whole debate is that they won't let pro-life advocates, true pro-life advocates, like we had Lila Rose on the program yesterday, who runs Live Action, one of the best and biggest pro-life groups there is. She can't get on CNN. They don't want to put her on. They only want pro-choice advocates on, and therefore young women really are led to believe that if they have an unplanned pregnancy, there's really only one realistic option, and that if they choose to have the baby and keep the baby, or have the baby and want to give the baby up, it's going to be incredibly taxing and ruinous to their lives.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I did several national interviews on other networks the last couple of days. And it was interesting, the questions that I got asked. It was all about denying women health care. If I no longer supported IVF, if I no longer supported contraception, all of those types of questions that are extremist views. Of course, no mention of the fact that many on the left and in the Democrat Party want abortion on demand, and that some parts of this country have embraced even killing babies after birth. And what is the difference here in how doctors look at these babies in the womb? If you talk to a doctor and they're doing surgery or medical procedures on babies in the womb, they are calling those babies patients. They have patients' rights throughout those procedures. So how do you give that individual, that baby in a womb, patients' rights and treat them as a patient and then not call them a human being? You know, that's the hypocrisy that we're running into in this country, and the conversation that needs to open the eyes of many of the people that are out there in the public.
Mm-hmm. Right. Of course. That's exactly right. And then when those same anchors get a pro-choice governor on their shows, they don't ask them equally tough questions from the other side, right? The media is very openly pro-choice and feels no obligation to even pretend otherwise.
Yeah, I did a couple of Sunday morning shows, and it was interesting. Martha interrupted me over and over again. I actually had to say, listen, I am answering your questions. And then I would chatted with Margaret after that too. But what was interesting, they're both very confrontational, already had their minds made up. And then the next individuals that came on to be interviewed after me is a completely different conversation. They were normal human beings to them. So the antagonistic, unfair way that the media approaches this issue is designed to divide people and create more confusion. And I think that's incredibly unfortunate, because that's not their job. Their job is to ask questions. I'll answer them.
You tired of feeling like someone's always watching you on the internet? Maybe the advertisers know a little bit too much about you, or you're concerned about the privacy of your identity? Using incognito mode does not solve the problem. IPVanish VPN is here to protect your right to privacy and help you stay anonymous online. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet without exposing your private details to third parties. You can use IPVanish on your computer, your tablet, your phones, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. When you use IPVanish, all of your data is encrypted. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish, super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you are instantly protected. Take your privacy back today with the brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Go to ipvanish.com/Megyn and use that promo code MEGYN to claim your 70% savings. ipvanish.com/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.